At Anything But Footy, we do just that. Talk about anything sporty, but the Premier League and hamstring injuries. Don't worry, if you thought English football was the only thing returning during the easing of lockdown, we forgive you. But our promise is to highlight some of the other stars and action, particularly focusing on Olympic and Paralympic sport. And this week, in any other year, we'd usually be counting down to the start of Wimbledon. But 2020 brings us the Battle of the Brits tennis and a series of events at the National Tennis Centre in Roehampton throughout July. Tennis, as we know, is ideal for social distancing. But can it survive professionally without a crowd, without sponsors' cash and players jetting around the world? I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and slowly but surely, and most importantly, of course, safely, sport is returning. And as John mentions, Wimbledon is one of the summer highlights that we won't be enjoying in 2020. Another one of those quintessential British events is taking place, Royal Ascot, behind closed doors. Snooker's World Championship is set to go ahead later in the year at the Crucible, with arch promoter Barry Hearn the driving force there. But we're still waiting on hearing the plans from other sports like athletics, swimming and cycling. Although, even without action, there's headlines to discuss, notably in track and field, where Christian Coleman and Soa Idnasa, both 29 world champions, are both provisionally suspended after missing doping tests. More on that to come.
As always, you can get in touch anytime at anythingbutf on Twitter or message us on Insta and Facebook. The website is anythingbutfooty.com. You can email anythingbutfooty@gmail.com. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast or told someone about it, please do that and tell Apple Podcasts what you think of it as well. Now, Jamie and Andy Murray, British number one Dan Evans, Kyle Edmund, just some of the British stars at Roehampton this week for the first ever Battle of the Brits. Britain's top-ranked men's tennis players will be taking part in this new tournament across the 5 days that's been come up with, of course, through lockdown and the coronavirus crisis. There'll be two groups named Henman and Rosetsky and will face each other in a round robin before the winners and runners-up progress to the semi-finals and the final. There'll be both singles and doubles competition, and the Schroders Battle of the Brits is all live on Amazon Prime as well, so huge backing of this. And not to be outdone, Britain's top female tennis players will also have another chance to compete again next month following the announcement of a brand new 30,000 Progress Tour Women's Championships, again held at Roehampton in the middle of July. And we'll talk about the US Open in a moment. But first, Michael, I mean, we've said that tennis is ideal for social distancing, and it's good to see some new competitions and new ways of getting into people's consciousness.
Sport has to be imaginative at the moment. We can't have Wimbledon. It is one of the jewels in the sporting calendar. It's one of the jewels in the crown. It's something we look forward to. But we can't enjoy SW19 for a couple of weeks. But we do have an opportunity. There is a huge appetite. And I think the build-up to the start of Premier League football matches showed what an appetite there is to see some live sport at the minute. And as I said right at the start, sports bodies, sports organisers, sports administrators, who we are very quick to criticise and have been on this podcast many and various times. They have to come up with something new, something to keep people entertained. And I'm sure that above all, as well as being a very good event for Amazon Prime and the watching public, I'm sure above all, for the players and for the people involved in the staging of it, it's absolutely what they want to be doing at the minute, because, you know, we've all had 3.5 months where we've been trying to get on as well as we can and live our normal lives. Now, if you are an athlete, a professional athlete, an elite athlete who hasn't been able to do what you would normally do, and there's lots of people in that boat, whether you've worked in a restaurant, a pub, a retail shop, whatever, you've not been able to do what you have to do. But if you're an athlete, an elite athlete, and you've got all that pent-up energy, frustration, what an excellent opportunity. And you have to applaud the people that have pulled this event together and staged it in Roehampton, staging it, we hope, safely, and staging something that people will want to watch. Yes, it's a bit of fun. But, you know, so was Pot Black back in the day when we used to watch One Frame Snooker. It was staged specifically for that audience. It was fun. It was good. This is something that I think will provide a welcome break in what is a very dry sporting summer.
We're going to continue with tennis because we've often said that sport needs to evolve and grow, and maybe this is the opportunity to do it when we have a position that's going on in the world right now. So I'm delighted that we're joined by Mark Milne. He's the founder of 3030, a new format of tennis aimed at more excitement, very much like cricket's 2020, I suppose. Now, just to run you through exactly what the rules are, it's an abbreviated format of tennis. It starts with the score at 30 all. If a set reaches 6 games all, a short set 9-point tiebreak, i.e. the first of 5 points, takes place. And there's a sudden death at 4. And then during a set, players serve alternate games and only change ends initially after 2 games and then every other 4 games. And a set of 30-30 takes in general no longer than 20 minutes, with a best of 3 sets completed in no longer than 60 minutes and the best of 5 sets in 90 minutes. Sounds quite an idea, Mark.
Hi there, John. Yes, I'm a tennis enthusiast who's played tennis for the best part of 50 years and have come up with it's called a creation. I've created what's called 30-30 Tennis, which is an alternative, shorter, faster-paced scoring method for tennis. I tried the Fast 4 format that was introduced by Tennis Australia a number of years ago now and has now been accepted by the ITF as a shorter format. And it's where you only play sets that go to 4 games with a tie-break at 3 all. So we started using it, but we didn't feel it was really like traditional tennis, coming off having won a match 4-1, 2-4, 4-3, for example. It just didn't feel like tennis. I'm still very much of a traditionalist. Sets are still to 6 games. You still play a tie-break at 6 all and so on. And yeah, my goal for 30-30 is, because I believe it's better, I would like to reapply. I've already applied to the ITF, but I'd like to reapply based on trialling that I've got ongoing.
Are you aiming this, Mark, at the club tennis player? Because from a professional and elite point of view, we all love the epic 5-setters, don't we? There's a plaque at Wimbledon for Isner and Mahou that took 3 days to get their match going. So is this aimed at people like you, me and John, who are just having a bit of a knockabout on a Sunday afternoon?
I'm actually a believer that it will work for both club players, amateur players and professional players. I think there's probably a need. You read a lot in the press just now about the people that are following tennis and even playing tennis are all getting older. The matches are just lasting a bit too long. It's not everyone now that will sit for 3, 4, 5 hours. My kids who are now in their 20s have never really sat down and watched a full tennis match. You've got to be a real diehard fan to sit and watch for 3, 4, 5 hours. And many other sports have recognised this as well, to try and encourage younger people to play or to support or to be fans. They are trying alternative, shorter formats. And yes, it wouldn't just be for club level. I believe it can, there's Patrick Mouratoglou at the weekend trying something new to try and attract younger people to the game of tennis. And I think shorter formats is potentially one of the ways to do it. So if you watch matches played by the professionals on television that last an hour or an hour and a half maximum, there's more chance of you getting, I think, the younger generation to get interested. It's not everyone like me who's grown up watching best of 5 sets matches and quite willing to sit and watch 3, 4, 5 hours.
2020 in cricket, there's 3-on-3 basketball, which is making, hopefully, its Olympic debut in Tokyo, assuming that Tokyo 2021 takes place. Have you thought about trying to look at, obviously the ITF is the key, but if the Commonwealth Games could have a tennis event which was 30-30, or the Olympic Youth Games, looking at a different way of getting it out there?
It's a good point. People ask me what are my dreams for 30-30, and I tell them that in 2032, the Olympic Games, believe it or not, are due to be in Asia, possibly in India, and there's a fair chance that 2020 cricket, I know they're applying to be part of the Olympic movement in 2028 in Los Angeles, but I think baseball may, with it being in America, baseball maybe just pip them. But I think it would be a no-brainer for them not to have 30-30 in the Olympic Games in 2032 in India. It would be fantastic. So I tell people my dream is that 2020 cricket will be played in India in 2032, and 30-30 cricket tennis will also be played at the same Olympic Games. But my main goal really is to get it accepted by the ITF. It's difficult to get sanctioned events to use the 30-30 format unless it's been officially sanctioned by the ITF. The ITF control the rules of tennis, and that really is my ultimate goal.
If tennis doesn't innovate in the ways that you've been describing with either your version or another version of short tennis, is tennis in trouble as a sport? Could it disappear off the radar in perhaps the same way that Test cricket has for a lot of people?
I do think that everything has to, if you stand still in any business, I'm a mechanical engineer to trade, basically. I've worked 30 years in engineering, and if you're a company or business or sport and you stand still, you're going to fall behind. Times do change and times do move on, and I do feel tennis potentially, I only read online what the figures are. They say the average age people watching and playing is growing year on year. And if that does continue to happen, yes, tennis could potentially be in trouble. So I think you have to innovate, you have to adapt, and you do have to change with the times. So I wouldn't say no, tennis is going to die if nothing's done, but they certainly have to look at things and try things to try and encourage youngsters. It's not so easy to get youngsters into. They've got such a big wide range of sports to look at and so on. And tennis matches that we watch on the television, they do go on a heck of a long time. You've got to be a real enthusiast to watch them.
I love it. I love a big late night at Wimbledon watching a big epic five-setter, Federer and Nadal. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's like poetry.
No, but Mark, let me pick that up on Michael, because I've covered Wimbledon, and I tell you what, the first 3 or 4 games of every set, you've got the whole crowd disappearing to go and buy strawberries, go and buy more Pims, go and buy more champagne. They ain't interested in the first 4 or 5 games of a set.
Absolutely. It's a very slow burner, tennis, a very slow burner, whereas with this 30-30 format, if you were to play a best of 3 sets match, it's going to last between 40 and 60 minutes. And as I say, the game score ticks over quicker. So I think it would grab your attention. It won't have the same build as obviously a 5-hour match, but it'll be something different. And you will sit down and watch the whole match and it'll be over quick enough. It's still a fair test. And the other big advantage is that at the moment, if you're to go along to Wimbledon and you're scheduled for a court that's maybe got 2 men singles and so on, you're only going to see 2 matches in that day. With a shorter format, you've got the chance to see more than double that. You would see twice as many players playing. Okay, the matches are shorter, but you get the opportunity to see more matches. I have an analogy that many sports have varying disciplines within their sport. For example, athletics. Now, athletics on the track, you have long distance races that are 10,000 and 5,000 metres. Now, they take sort of 15 minutes to half an hour. You're terming that a long distance event. They also have middle distance events that are the 800 metres and the 1,500 metres. They're anything from sort of 1 minute, 1.5 minutes to 4 minutes. You also have the sprint events, which are the 100 metres and the 200 metres, which are 10 seconds to 20 seconds. So you've got 3 different things there, a sprint, a middle distance, and a long distance. They all have their own associated superstars. Usain Bolt, 100 metres, Rhodesia, the middle distance, Mo Farah, long distance. That is fantastic for the sport of athletics. They have individual guys that are unique to their event. You would never see Mo Farah doing the 10,000. You would never see you would never see Usain Bolt doing the 10,000. You would never see the other way, Mo Farah doing the 100. Although I believe he has, and he's pretty quick. Tennis could
I'd
be
like to see that.
Yeah, I think I have seen him run the 100, and he's bloody quick for a 10,000 metre runner. But tennis has the same. It has the Grand Slam best of 5s, which are 2 to 5 hours. It has the ATP and the WTA best of 3, which are sort of 1 hour to maybe 2-3 hours. And we've now got the short formats like tie-break 10s, fast 4, and the Ultimate Tennis Showdown, and 30-30. These events could potentially produce a sprint champion in tennis, which could potentially be a younger player. To win a Grand Slam just now, I think you have to have a number of years' experience and stamina built up over years of training to be a potential winner of a Grand Slam. A shorter format could produce its own unique champion, like Nick Kyrgios. He could be fantastic over a short format.
Okay, you're convincing me, Mark. You're convincing me. How are you going to go and take this to the world then and promote it and send us all off to the 2032 Olympics to watch it?
Okay, the plan is, contacting people at the moment, getting people to try it as much as possible, getting feedback and reapplying to the ITF. I have been speaking to some people that are very interested in it. They realise that there is something in this, and there does appear to be money available. There are people that are willing to invest money in this format, and at the moment, obviously, with the tours cancelled or suspended for a while, there are opportunities for events to pop up and to be streamed and so on. And there are a couple of guys that I'm speaking to just now that are interested to take this further, basically. So I do really think I've got something here. The name of it, first of all, backed on the back of 2020. It could be known as the younger sibling of 2020 cricket. The name 30-30 tells you exactly what it does on the tin, basically. 30-30, oh yeah, that's the shorter format of tennis, that every game starts at 30 all. So there is something here, and I believe it really works. And there is a requirement for shorter formats as well. I just need to prove that this format is better than the other three formats that are out there at the moment. And yeah, I really need the ITF to take on board following the trialling I've done. I'm not alone now. I've got 270 people plus a lot more that I've just had a great idea, fantastic idea. This is really good. I now know I'm not alone. At the start, I was a wee bit, is it just me? Am I the only person that thinks this works? No, there are now hundreds of people that are aware of it and have tried it and saying, yeah, this really does work.
We wish you well, Mark. Before I let you go, I must say I love the name, but I particularly love the way you say it in your accent.
Yes, it's 30-30 Tennis.
So, Michael, just listening to Mark there, he's got the passion. I mean,
got the enthusiasm, hasn't he?
And to be fair, there is some real indication there that you should have quicker tennis matches, and again, making it more relevant and easy for people to watch, whether that is in person, hopefully in the future, or on television.
Well, I think it's a mixture that you're looking for, isn't it? And I think that's probably true these days of a lot of sports. So cricket fans will still want to see Test cricket. Test cricket still...
Only in England, though.
Whether it's an Ashes
and Australia.
Test or in India.
Only in England and Australia.
Well, I would say in India it would be pretty popular still to go and watch Test match cricket.
I think
2020.
I think 2020 has taken over in certain parts of the world. I think England and Australia are the only places where you sell out Test matches.
Well, I think there's a place for Test match cricket, and I'm not the biggest cricket fan, but I think there's a place for 2020. It's something I understand more, and if we hadn't had the pandemic this summer, we'd have seen the 100 as well, and I would have been interested to see how that would have taken off, especially with terrestrial TV coverage. I think we've suffered with Test cricket, certainly, with losing that from terrestrial TV, and I think it was fantastic with the World Cup, with the one-day form of the game, that they put the final and England's victory obviously on Channel 4 as well. So I think there is a mix, and I think there is an opportunity, there's a landscape where a mix would work, and I think that's probably what Mark would agree with if he was to be totally and utterly honest. I still think there's a huge appetite for big five-setters late into the evening at Flushing Meadow or Roland Garros or, on Rod Laver or at SW19, of course. I still think there's that appetite to see those matches unfold. But yes, I do take his point that actually you could have a really good event at somewhere like the O2, 8 players, done and dusted in a night, fantastic evening's entertainment.
Yeah, and I think no one's saying that this is going to replace Wimbledon, and I don't think he would want to replace Wimbledon.
No.
But you want to have that new generation coming through, and I agreed with him that there are some of those youngsters who still haven't won a major, who actually could start winning things. A bit like when England started to win the 2020 Cup, and then they went on to become the world one-day champions and move up the ladder in cricket. Anyway, great to. If you want more details, check out the website. We'll provide the details of that for 3030. So the Premier League is back, as we say, but it's not game, set and match for football, because the world of tennis is on the way back as well, with Battle of the Brits and more events to come in Roehampton, and maybe, just maybe, a brand new sport in 3030.